by investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Then
One
if
second.
I want to go, hello,
Yeah, just 1 second.
is anybody speaking or am I hearing?
No, I am speaking. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you very clearly. It's very feeble.
Yeah, there is somebody speaking in the background.
Okay. Then if I, so what we saw last time is that a quick recap that the revenue has tremendously grown in the last 5 years. And if I go through some of the details,
Can you guys?
so
Hello, can you guys hear me?
yeah, but it's I can't hear much. Hello?
Hello. Am I audible to everyone or not audible?
It's very
No,
faint, hardly
it's
barely
very,
audible.
Is it better now?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what is the issue when I'm using a headphone. Okay. So basically, yeah, any questions till now? Kunal covered a few points. Any questions from anyone?
Okay, Kunal, you mentioned that. Oh, I hear an echo.
Yeah.
Kunal, you mentioned that the jewelry segment is bringing in 60% of the revenue, but
Yeah, I
what I
mean,
found was,
more than 60%.
yeah, I found 92%. I don't know what the real number is. I found this.
Yeah, I mean it varies, but I think it is around 80 to 90%.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
And if I just go quickly through the
No, Kunal, one
income
second. So
yeah.
Kunal mentioned a term promoters. Does everyone understand who a promoter is?
Initial stakeholder.
Yeah, Ishwar, I know you will probably know this one. So it is mainly for the people for whom it's the first session. Is everyone comfortable with the term promoter?
No, can you please explain?
Yeah. So whenever a company is started, am I audible, guys?
Yeah, but there is an echo.
Okay, I'm trying to use a headphone, then you guys are not able to hear me. So let me try the headphone again. Wait. Hello, is this good now?
Yeah.
Much
Okay.
better.
Okay, so maybe the volume was turned down. Okay. Because I am able to hear you guys very well. Okay, so basically, the promoter is someone who starts the company. So basically, say for example, I start a company with 100 crores. So I will be known as the promoter. And
the person
100.
who helps raise capital.
Sorry.
The person I think who helps raise the capital.
Not the person who helped raise the capital. The person who actually contributed the capital.
Yeah,
The guy who helps raising the capital.
Correct.
The people who help raise capital are usually the intermediaries whom we know as investment banks. So the person who initially contributed, now say this 100 crore was contributed by one person. So all the full 100% of the company is owned by that company. So that is where we say promoter shareholding is 100%. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happens is, if the promoter shareholding is 100%, someday the promoter can decide that I don't want this to be a private limited company anymore and I want to list it on a stock exchange. So every country's stock exchange has a regulator. So in India, it is called SCBI, which is Securities and Exchange Board of India. We call it SEBI. In the US, it is Securities and Exchange Commission. In the UK, I don't remember what the regulator is called. So every country has a regulator, and they have certain norms and conditions that when a company is going for an IPO is an initial public offering. When the company has to list in the stock market and it is selling its shares to a wider range of public, it has to comply with certain standards. In India, it usually says that the promoter cannot hold more than 75%. So when I initially started 100% of the company is with me, I will have to sell at least 25% of the company. Now say the day I am going for an IPO, the value of the company today is doubled. It is 200 crores now. Following me?
Yes.
Okay. So I will be obliged as per the Indian regulations that I will have to sell shares worth at least 50 crores to the public. When I say the public, it is people like you, me, it can be anyone. It can be a mutual fund, etc. There are multiple players in the market. So they can all buy as much as they want. Sorry. So any questions on this from anyone? All good? Everyone has understood this?
Yeah.
Great.
Pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. And any other questions? Sorry, usually I start the sessions with questions. Today I didn't take time for that. Any questions people had based on the discussions over the last week on WhatsApp, or just something on your mind which you wanted to ask but didn't ask on WhatsApp, or you didn't have the time? Anything you wanted to ask? No? Fair enough. Thank you. Sorry, Kunal, you can go on.
Yeah, so I'll just go quickly through some of the numbers. Now, I'm using data from Screener and Ticker Tape as well. Just so in case you want to see, because I'm not sharing the numbers right now, but if you want to see what I'm talking about. So revenue has basically increased tremendously from, let's say, around from, if I take 2015 figures, from around 12,000 crores of revenue to 21,000 crores. So almost double in the last 5 years. And net income as well has increased. I don't want to repeat again everything of what we did last session. But if we see some other figures, we have probably some important figures from the P&L. We have sales as well that has doubled in the last 5 years. Then if we look at some of the liquidity, yeah.
1 second, I'll jump in here. So I have a couple of questions actually. So if does anyone have questions? Because then I have a couple of questions. No, okay. So can any of the new Chinese tell me what is Screener? Okay, or Ticker Tape?
I would assume it's some kind of website where you get some information. I've never used him, but or
Yes.
a tool, online tool probably.
It's a website which gives you information about companies. Exactly. Yeah, but if it's not clear, please ask. Okay, or to reaffirm. Right. This is the only way you will get it, because one of the feedback that we collected was that people feel sometimes it's too fast paced. So that's why I'm trying to slow it down, but also it's on the people that if you see a new term, right, or hear a new term, please ask. And that's the only way knowledge sharing will happen. And it can also be that other people get different perspectives. So both Screener and Ticker Tape are data providers, we can say, or information providers. So these are websites, and they provide quite interesting information. So as Kunal is not able to share his screen, I will share my screen and give you a view of Screener. Last time Ishwar used it, and I think Ishwar, you have been using it for a few months now, right? Or you just started using it?
Yeah, I've been looking at it on and off, but I used it especially for Titan.
Okay, fine. So because Screener is quite good actually, so I will show you guys.
So Nishan, just a quick question. So is Screener limited to the Indian market, or is it across the globe?
Yeah, I had the same question. Yeah.
Tell me, Apple. Let me try if it is giving me.
It is.
No, it doesn't look
is
like
limited
it.
to the Indian market.
It's only
Okay.
Indian market.
But
It is limited to the Indian market.
so for the global
for Ticker Tape.
markets, I usually find finance.google or finance.yahoo quite interesting. So you guys can see my screen, right?
Okay. Yes.
So
Those
let me try. I a
market.
German company. So Deutsche Bank. It's on NYSE. What's the Frankfurt? ETR is Frankfurt. Huh? What is ETR?
You can take
Which-
any one, but because it's dual listed in different cities. Frankfurt would be Deutsche
Frankfurt
Börse.
is FRA. That is Deutsche Börse.
Yeah.
Deutsche Börse is in Frankfurt. Huh? Okay. So you see here, it gives some interesting information.
I think Nishant, because Google and Yahoo Finance is from US company, so they target only US market. So if we need a German market, there are some German tools. So we should always stick to the local tools in order to get local companies information. So I don't think it's the best. Yahoo Finance, you cannot give all the information to you.
So
Google.
which are the German tools? Can you name?
Börse.de is one of the German. Finance.net or Börse.de.
I use those things as well. Financial handler.
Okay, go on, Kunal. Any other questions before we move on?
And
I'm just trying to cover some parts that we haven't covered last time, so probably different indicators. So I mean, probably. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kunal. No problem. Maybe later.
So I'm just trying to cover some other terms that we haven't seen last time, and probably considering the current situation with the pandemic and drop in sales and everything, I thought I would just go quickly through the current ratio and the quick ratio that would enable us to analyze the liquidity of the company to meet its. Basically, these are two indicators that measures the ability of the company to meet its short-term obligations and to generate enough cash to pay all its debts. So the current ratio is at 1.82 and the quick ratio is at about 0.35. I wouldn't say they are very healthy because a current ratio between I think 1.5 and 3 is below average, and a quick ratio lower than 1 is not a very healthy sign. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nishant.
Yeah, so but is everyone aware of what a current ratio is? That's the first question, and its relevance. Is the answer yes, no?
Well, I'm reading it on Google. I'm searching for it while you guys talk. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so Kunal, you want to talk about what is current ratio?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, both of these ratios, current ratio and quick ratio, as I just said, it shows the ability of the company to meet its short-term liquidity requirements and its ability to pay its debts. And the current ratio takes into account the short-term assets, including cash, inventory, and receivables, I think. Whereas the quick ratio doesn't take into account inventory. Am I correct, Nishant?
Yeah, it's been a long time here. I heard this one, so I'm just trying to look at the formula. But yeah, see, current ratio in short, right? I just read it up. Current ratio in short basically talks about your current assets and current liabilities. So does everyone understand what are current assets?
The assets which can be liquidated within a year or on the financial year, and the liabilities which are the current liabilities which are not long term debts but something which has to be paid within a year of the financial year.
Correct. So exactly. So before we go to maybe current assets, so first, does everyone understand what is an asset and what is a liability?
Yes.
Everyone is clear on this? No doubts?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So asset
Yep.
is something you own, and liability is something that you are responsible for, or something. I mean, by normal definition, right?
Sorry?
Asset is something you own, I think.
Yes, okay.
Liability is something that you are liable for, so you're responsible kind of for. I mean, by the English definition, I don't know the exact financial.
That is what it is. So it's like O and O. So what you own and what you owe. So
Okay,
own and O. So in short, you can say own and O, right? O and O, you can remember it as. So जो अपना है वो asset है, जो देना है किसी और को वो liability है. So sorry, I used Hindi. I'm not sure if all of you are conversant with Hindi. So in terms of current ratio, it basically talks about current assets, and I think Prabhjit covered it perfectly. That anything that you can convert into cash within a year is known as a current asset, and anything that you need to pay off within a year is a current liability. Now, when Kunal talks about the current ratio should be below 1, current ratio, the formula is current asset divided by current liability. So if my current asset is 100 and my current liability is 100 or below 100, then it is fine. As long as it's above 1, my current ratio is good. But if it is below 1, which means I'm not able to, my assets are not enough to cover my liabilities, and that is not a good sign. Quick ratio is even better. Quick ratio is only your cash equivalents mostly. So it is like you said, like it is mentioned here. If you guys can see my screen, it is your cash and bank balance. Something that you can convert to cash within, say, marketable securities would be something that can be converted to cash within 30 days or even less. And account receivable is again something that I have to receive within the next 30 days or so. Because if you do a business, sometimes you give credit to people, but you expect them to pay within 30 days. So usually there are terms like 30, 60, 90, where basically we give options to people to pay within 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. But usually companies prefer to give only 30 days. 90 days is only with someone I'm doing business for many years and it's on special terms and all. Usually it is only 30 or 60 at max. So again, quick ratio tells you that how quickly will you be able to pay your current liabilities without even including few things like Kunal said, inventory and prepaid expenses. Because sometimes inventory can take 1 or 2 years to sell, or we use another term called liquidate. So to liquidate means generally to convert into cash. So if you have a house, I'm not able to liquidate my house, it means that I'm unable to convert and sell my house and convert it into cash. And you will hear a lot of times I mention the word liquidity. Liquidity is extremely important in the markets. So the ability to convert to cash. If there is no liquidity, there is a problem. And this is what caused the recent crisis with Franklin Templeton. So if somebody, Vaibhav, maybe you can put this in the agenda as well. The Franklin Templeton case study. What happened with those few mutual funds? Is Vaibhav there? Yeah, Vaibhav is there. Yeah, so we can put that as a case study. Any questions on what I explained?
No, thank you. It's very clear.
Clear for everyone?
Yep.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Kunal. You can carry on.
Okay. So there were 2 points, and then after that, we can see the. I think we discussed briefly during last session, but if we see there's a positive free cash flow that has been continuously increasing the last few years. I think it went from negative to positive about 10 billion rupees in the until fiscal year 18-19, and so the business is generating cash, which is a good news. And if I see some of the other indicators like debt to equity ratio is below 1. Eventually, this would mean that they could have easier facilities to borrow money. And
Kunal?
yeah.
Nishant, I just have a question. So we just discussed a few parameters, but like current ratio and debt to equity. So I just wanted, my question is, what weightage can we give to these parameters when we select to invest in a stock or in a company?
So, in terms of weightage, Naga, there is no specific weightage as such, but your current your quick ratio is extremely important. Now, for example, if your quick ratio is above 1, which means I have enough cash to pay off my liabilities. But if my quick ratio is very poor, like 0.01, which means I only have 1 rupee and my liabilities are 100, which means as a company, I'm not very good at managing my cash. That's not a good sign at all. So you would want to stay away from such kind of companies. Now, I would be very surprised if I found such a company, but I'm just giving you a random example.
Yeah.
But any company where you have a quick ratio of even 0.5 or 0.25, that's a red flag. So then you need to start digging more. That why this company has such a poor cash management. Because see, a company has multiple parameters. It is extremely complex to evaluate a company because there are multiple parameters. But I think this is an interesting question. So Vaibhav, what we need to do is we need to put a template and say which are the parameters we need to put to evaluate a company.
But Nishant, as we discussed probably, is that each industry will have its own parameters. You can't put one template in general. I mean, banks will have different parameters, FMCGs will have different parameters, manufacturing industries will have different parameters.
Absolutely, right?
So
but
probably we'll have to.
Titan probably comes under a manufacturing, right?
Correct.
So it's
correct.
manufacturing plus retail. So we will. That is a very valid point. So Naga, that is also an important point. That these quick ratios and all are more applicable to manufacturing concerns. These are basically manufacturing concepts, and they are part of something called cost accounting. So they come from that background. But today's world, what is happening is some of these companies are backward integrated. So like a Titan is actually backward integrated. So that's something I wanted to actually show you guys. There is this interesting data. So if you see here, Titan has these subsidiaries which are private limited companies, which means they are not listed anywhere. So there is this Tata Engineering and Automation Limited, there is this Carrot Lane, and there is this Faber Levoy AG. So these are subsidiaries which are not listed anywhere. Along with this, this might be listed. I don't know. This is in Switzerland.
और वो जो अंजलि नहीं है ना, वो जो मैंने बताया था कि जिनका बैंगलोर में काफी बड़ा बिजनेस है, वो अभी करते हैं।
Whoever is not speaking, can you go on mute, please? We can hear a background. So then in companies like Titan, what happens, right? They are like kind of, they also have manufacturing and they also have a retail segment. So
Nishant, I have a question.
yeah,
It's a-
one second. Let me finish, Ranjit, then we'll take your question. So in this cases, it becomes a little complicated, but we will try to kind of template it out for manufacturing, etc. So in a manufacturing concern, these ratios are very important. But even for a non-manufacturing company, if their quick ratio is really bad, that means that their working capital management is poor. So that needs to be evaluated. Yeah, Ranjit, go on with your question. Go ahead.
Since you show me the subsidiaries which Titan holds, suppose if that company which is in the Switzerland is performing extremely good, and does this revenue will be counted also for Indian? Does it also count for Titan, or they don't count it as a profitable business, or they don't show this profit their business?
Were you there last class
Yes.
when Ishwar presented? So I asked him to show something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did I ask him?
I don't know.
There is somebody else, remember? That's why I came to that screen also. It was on this screen. Right here
Other
I asked.
income, right?
Other income. Huh?
No, I didn't ask him for other income.
View standalone or consolidated?
Exactly. So that answers your question, and I think Ishwar had asked that day. So that answers Ishwar's question also. So when you see now, right, Ranjit, those three companies which you saw as subsidiary, their revenue, everything is added here. So when you see this number 21,000 crores, it includes the numbers from these three companies.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see only Titan, then you need to click on standalone. So you see this number changed from 21,000. So which means the total revenue for those three companies is around 1,000 crores. And we can double check if you want from here. So this is for 18-19. So we can go to 18-19 and double check. So 18-19 is this data. So this is 19,000 crores. And totally it is 19,780. So 800 crores should be there. So the total of these three companies should be 800 crore. So this one, let's see how much it is. You understood? The number will tally, but that is the concept. I'm just trying to. Did I answer your question, Ranjit?
Yes, it's clear.
And Ishwar, you had a question, I think, last time. So I don't know if I had answered that. So it should help you to connect back as well.
Yeah, I actually don't remember what question I asked. But so far it's clear for me.
Okay. Any other
Ishwar,
questions?
if I'm not wrong, I think the question was that while calculating the taxes on these revenues, it would be different for out of the country money. If I remember it right, this was your question, right?
Honestly, I don't remember what I had asked.
All right.
It might be. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
Nishant,
go on,
but
Kunal.
when this is being added into revenue, this does not include the income tax or depreciation is a universal factor, but the tax wouldn't be included, right?
Which tax wouldn't be included?
Dheeraj here, you're talking of corporate taxes.
Yeah.
The government of India would have signed a double taxation avoidance
Got it. Okay.
with various countries. So you will not be taxed for the same income in two places.
Right.
Right. So if the company is paying tax in Germany, you will get a credit back in India, so on and so forth. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. It is not that simple. There is
It's not
something
double
called
tax.
double
Okay,
tax.
I get it.
Yeah, double taxation avoidance treaty. The government should sign this treaty with various countries. India has got 50, 60 odd countries, all the major countries.
Okay.
Right? So it will not get taxed like that.
Sure. Thank you, Dheeraj. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is on the practical aspect of it, Vivek. But basically, in terms of when we see the numbers, they will add it. So when you see on a screener, your consolidated numbers will have, so this number 19,000 will have the revenue of all the three subsidiaries added up, and even the tax component will have all the three subsidiaries added up. So they will show the total amount of taxes they have paid. Because here the numbers are just to show you the company's performance. The tax might have gone to any country, but they are showing that the net on this total income of 2,000 crores, the company ended up paying a overall tax rate of 29%, and it is 1,400 crores. And as Dheeraj mentioned, each of the company, wherever they are earning the income, they will abide by that country's laws. And then he talked about DTA. So for example, the Indian DTA usually is only federal taxes are offset. So for example, if you come back from say Germany to India, whatever you pay to the German federal government will be offset. But say in Germany you have a municipal tax, there you will not get any offset. So when I came back from France, they added up all my gross income. But in France, you have 4 different deductions. You have for your social security, you have for your unemployment insurance, you have for your old age pension, and you have for education. All those deductions were not deducted. They just added the gross number and then gave me whatever standard deduction I get in India. And then if I paid some tax to the French federal government, they deducted it. But whatever house tax and all that local taxes that you pay, they don't deduct it. You don't get any offset for that. And those treaties are actually quite comprehensive, like Dheeraj was saying, and pretty complex. So it takes a lot of time to figure out which taxes is offset and which is not. It's...
Got it. Thanks. Thanks, Nishant.
Any other questions?
Nishant, I just wanted to.
Yeah, go on. Somebody was speaking. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but I think
I can hear you, but the other guy got disconnected, I think, somehow.
Okay, fine. So, Kunal, you can continue.
Okay. So probably some of the other ratios we could see is if basis what we had discussed is the working capital ratio. If you take working capital divided by sales, it is at around 4.79. And I understand that we can see also the inventory ratio, which is at around 4, which means the time it takes for them to basically a low inventory turnover ratio is better for a company. Basically, it shows their ability to not to liquidate, but to renew their inventory and generate that into sales. And for this company, it is at around 4, which is not very low nor very high either, somewhere between the middle. But if I go quickly through the previous history, it was very, very high in 2008, 2009 period, up to 6 or 7, and it has been continuously going down. And then
Kunal, if I can just add something on the.
I can't hear you. Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
No. I was just saying that regarding the previous parameter, where we showed about the different partnerships that we had or subsidiaries across different countries. I think also it is a factor showing that company's reliability and also in its technical competencies. So I think that would be an interesting point to note, right, Nishant?
Yes, of course. So like for Titan to have a Swiss subsidiary and Switzerland with the reputation as being the watch capital, I'm assuming this Swiss subsidiary is probably doing some watch business only. So we can actually go and see what this company is doing. We'll have to probably do some.
Yeah, but that is there. But I mean, I totally do not agree with what you say, because for today, for any company to open an international subsidiary is not very difficult.
Yes, Kunal. So again, this is a two-edged sword, right? So I think what Naga is trying to say is, if the subsidiary exists, which tells me that the company has an international reputation, obviously we will have to check what is the reputation of the subsidiary in their domestic market. So, for example, this subsidiary, how many people in Switzerland actually know about it? So that would be an interesting information.
Also, probably what kind of activity that subsidiary does, or how does it contribute to the overall global business?
Okay, just a comment. I just made a quick search in Google, and this company it was started in 1737. So I think it was like a takeover by Titan. And if it has been in the business since 1737, I think many of the local people would know about this.
Even myself, I know it's one of I think second largest or something. I also read this internet, but it's a very famous brand in Switzerland.
So it wouldn't make sense to keep that brand and not market it under a Titan brand, right?
I think they took it for the brand image itself. I think.
Also depends on the kind of the subsidiary, right? So, for example, if you're a new entrant into that market, that also shows a potential growth to acquire new base in the area. You might have been saturated. You might have saturated in your local markets, but that might throw light onto some expansion measures the company is taking too.
Yeah, I mean, if we sum it up very quickly, they launched the brand in the 1980s, and in the 1980s, the global watchmaking industry was going through the quartz crisis, meaning that there was a very big shift from mechanical movements to quartz movements, and many very big Swiss brands, or even many global brands, but the Swiss were among the biggest in the world at the time. Brands collapsed. Very big brands failed. There were a lot of some brands acquired a lot of the big brands, and that was a time when there was a lot of consolidation in the industry, and some of them survived, which are still there today, and yeah, I mean, that was a very important moment in the watch business. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took over an old Swiss brand and acquired it at that time.
So Naga, just to illustrate Kunal's point, right? So it can be a double-edged sword. Like, see, look here. If you see the number, this is actually a loss-making firm. They made a loss of 7 million Swiss francs. So not very good. You see here? But it's a loss with a minus, so I don't know whether it's a loss or a profit. It's actually confusing.
Yeah, it says loss of the year, right?
Yeah, but then it says a minus. So okay, how can loss be a minus? So if the loss is in minus, which means it's a profit. Two negatives make a positive. Dheeraj, how do you read this one?
That's what even I understood. Why would they put loss for the year and a minus?
We'll have
Some
to.
accumulated losses brought forward.
So 12 minus
Is there a
15 will
P&L?
be minus 3. Minus 3, but then he has added back. How he has come to 6? So 15 plus 12 should be 27, and then yeah, minus 22. Correct. He has subtracted only. It's loss only. Yeah, it's loss only. It's loss only, Dheeraj. You see what I did?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so it is loss only. So 7 million loss, and they have loss from previous years. So I don't know why they are even keeping this company. So much loss. So yeah, so this may not be.
In 2013, they bought it for 2 million Swiss francs. That's what the report is saying.
Yeah, so a company that is bought for 2 million is losing you another 7 million per year. What is the point of keeping it? So maybe they have some kind of agreement with them that basically they are using some of their proprietary technology or something, and they cannot just close the business. So maybe they are not able to fire people. But I don't think that Switzerland has such tough labor laws. So yeah, so we'll have to probably do more digging. So that is where, right? So this is where I was trying to tell people that value investing is not easy. So now see, the more you start digging, the more things you know about Titan, right? And ideally, the real value investor is one who knows everything about it. And after 3 sessions, we still know a very lot of things we don't know about them. Like this one, I just pulled up, saying that okay, they have 3 more subsidiaries, and these numbers are different, and there is no even P&L for this. Only I saw a balance sheet. So from the balance sheet, we'll have to derive. Oh yeah, they have operating income. Yeah, so here you see they have a loss. See, as I said, they only have employee cost of 1.7 million, and their revenue is only 1 million. And then they are doing advertisement of 3.5 million. Who does this? So it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we'll have to do more digging. But you see the
Nishan, traditionally in most of the luxury watchmaking segments, even if you go through the results of Patek Philippe or even the Rolex for that matter, the in-house tooling is very expensive to change, and the overall they call it something called as in-house movement. So it's similar to designing your own processors for your computers. So the cycles are very large, and then when they start seeing diminishing returns, that's when they start investing more into these cycles. And there are a few quarters where you are expected to have huge infrastructure investments. So maybe we need to look out if that is the case for this company as well, because
but like you said, Vivek, very few watch companies have in-house movements, especially in the quartz business. So basically, the watch industry is dominated by one movement, which is from the ETA family, be it in automatic or in quartz.
Yeah.
And so basically, they just buy the movement from ETA and then put it under their own branding and sell the watches.
I need to check it again, but if I remember it right, for this particular company does have its own in-house movements, and it is one of the oldest watchmakers in Switzerland. So I might be wrong here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that is all fine. That is fine, Vivek. But look at the advertising, right? They are spending money on advertising. Look at this. This is pretty clear. This whole money is going in advertising. A company which is making $1 million in revenue, you are spending 5 million on advertisement to promote what? And look at the employee cost. So the revenue is not even covering the employee cost. On top of that, they are going and spending 5 million on advertising, and they have other expenses, and they also have depreciation. So anyways, this is a non-cash item, but what about others? And they are also having raw material cost. So what is the rationale of keeping this company? Just sell it off, close it.
Maybe the
I think
underlying
why
IP
they
is
have
giving them dividends, right?
yeah.
You don't know that.
Sorry.
The underlying IP might be that might be being used in the other companies of the main companies of Titan itself. So we don't know what is the value add this company is creating.
Yeah, IP is fine, right? But why spend on advertisement? Right? You're just using
Yeah,
the
but
manufacturing IP.
for example, if they have already bought it, I mean, and they have to operate it, so I mean, the only way they can increase their sales is through advertisement, right? I mean, what is the other way around? Yeah, they can sell it as well, but then probably they have kept it because they want to target the premium sector in India. Because right now, if we see Sonata or
Yeah,
Titan, all the other watches,
exactly. They could
Choose new markets,
use this brand as a strategy to bring in premier watches in India, but also probably as an international strategy to venture into other markets using an established brand.
Yeah,
yeah.
but so are they using this brand in India? So they are selling FL watches in India, Favor Luba.
No, not now.
So,
But probably
so then where is this money going? Where is this money going? Where is this being spent? In
no,
Switzerland.
because
Not
Fab
every
Leuba is
investment
still
is going to
Fab
return
Leuba is a
as
brand that still exists today and that still sells watches. But I mean, it is not viewed as necessarily very premium watches because their quality has gone
My
down.
question is, where
But
does this 3.5 million go? Where is this 3.5 million
maybe
going then?
building a local brand, Nishant. So if they
Brand
want
where?
to get
Brand in
into
India?
as a premium brand,
no,
they
not
might
in
want to
India.
first.
In the overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
No,
what we
but
need to figure out, right? Where is this
but
3.5 million going? Where
Nishant,
is
I have one thing to say, that every other advertisement cost, if you analyze of any premium industry of in the luxury sector, all companies are burning cash in advertisement. They have to do it. Like, this is the trend that companies have been following since, I don't know, since decades. So then we need to see that does it really? I mean, how can we see that the investment is actually profitable or not, right? I mean, anything in advertisement is not so easily measurable.
Correct, Vaibhav,
So,
but at least, like, say, for
Vaibhav,
example, take Lux brand in India, right? If they are generating 100 million dollars in revenue, say 500 crores in revenue, Lux only generating 500 crores in revenue for HUL. And for advertising Lux brand, HUL is spending 50 crores. We can question why 50 crores, why not 30 crores? But at least they are making revenue to cover that, right? Here, this company is making operating income of 1 million and you are spending 3.5 million on advertisement. What is going on here? That is a question to be asked. As a value
True.
investor, you need to ask this question: what is going on? And at this moment, I don't understand. Does anyone understand and can give me clear answers for this?
I will add, guys. Can you hear me? This is Nimit. Hello.
Hey,
Yeah,
Nimit.
Nimit,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I very well agree with what Nishant is saying. Don't always go through these numbers and start making assumptions. Company make a lot of these numbers for some other purposes as well. Who knows what is hiding behind these numbers, right? And I very well understand that with an operating income of 9,292,000, whatever it is, in March 2018, with a advertisement cost of 5 million, it's ridiculous, right? And similarly, and they have this kind of results in March 2018, and that has not gone in March 2019 as well, right? You can see the similar kind of numbers. With 1 million of operating income, they are spending 3.5 million of advertisements. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is not a good strategy. So what is going behind these numbers, that needs to be digged up. We can assume that they are doing the advertisement, but who really knows what they are doing with this money?
So, guys, if I can add in, I just verified all the watches have in-house movements, and in 2019 they actually reinvested into the tooling of a new caliber, and they brought about the watches to India as well, which are retailing around 6 lakhs, okay, per watch. So they are trying to make a name in the premium segment rather than mid-tier micro band watch. And I assume that bleeding out money in the early stages of brand building is expected, because
that makes sense. So where are they selling this? That makes very much sense. So then in 2018 is probably when they launched. So between April 2017 and March 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, and they are selling this watch at 6 lakh rupees.
Yeah,
per watch.
6 lakh is one of their entry variants of the watch. They have even more expensive series as well.
Okay, and so they have spent 5 million on advertisement, but I have not even seen one ad of this company. So they have this in the premium malls, like so in Bangalore, UB City, in Mumbai, some of the super expensive BK.
Ethos is one of the premium retailer in India who deals traditionally with most of the Swiss brands.
Okay.
Nishan, if I may just add regarding the high investments that we've done and which we don't have much idea. So actually, when even in Tata, when TCS bought over a French IT company here, initially to show that the French employees that okay, we are buying not to just cost, they do additional investments even if the company is going in a loss. Just to convince the resources that said, okay, we are going to invest, don't leave the company, be with us. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, that has been even historical trend line with Tata Jaguar acquisition, right? Jaguar Land Rover acquisition. So they were completely bleeding money, and then they were a loss-making company even within UK for a long time until they started finding synergies across better engineering, making it more sportive and etc. And what helped it survive is the legacy and branding that they have built inherently.
Makes sense.
They were able to streamline the operational costs, and they were able to streamline the processes, and that helped them go forward. But
yeah, makes sense, Vivek. So is this making sense to everyone? So, but when did they acquire this company?
In 2011.
2013.
11. Okay, I have 11, but anyway, probably 13.
$2013, right? That's long time back. So then that doesn't make sense. So maybe they are now monetizing it. So now that they have the product, any ideas on the volumes, Vivek? 6 lakhs per watch, and how many watches per year? 100, 200, 500?
I could not find that data, Nishant. I just went into the retail, one of the stores that I usually look at, but yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So guys, I have a hard stop today. So we are at 4:36. So I'll have to go. If you guys want to continue without me, that's fair enough. Did everyone get, so it was interesting. It was starting to get quite interesting actually. So, but I'll have to go. I have some other engagement today. So any questions before I go? Or any comments, any questions? And you guys feel free to continue without me if you want. Any questions from anyone, from any of the new joinees? You were able to follow the pace, get some useful information?
Yes, definitely.
Srihari, for you as well?
Yeah. Actually, mostly, actually, this is a right forum, but I think we are a group of people where we are at different levels. So what I was doing in this call was I was listing down the new terms which all came in this session, and I have to dig in detail those. So that's what will give me a kind of a foundation to build and participate in an after some time. Without basics, I think it doesn't make sense to understand anything.
Yeah, sure. So why not make a list of some of the basic terms that you're not clear with, and I will do a basic session with everyone who needs a clear up on basics. I can do that tomorrow, maybe after the session. I can spend 30 minutes extra.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And
Okay, but
I think I also want to highlight one more point. I think mostly, I think we are in different platforms and different careers, and for some it is not a kind of a full time this thing, and some it's more like learning. So everyone will not be completely involved, and but over a period of time might be slowly. Once we are available, we might just take more time and dig into this. I think that is also we have to construct. But overall, I think this is the right forum where I think the kind of questions which, I mean, basic questions are also covered. I think eventually we can come up with them once everyone in the group has much more experience. I think a kind of an good process will be in place. I think in another 1 year. I don't know from how long this group is there.
for 3 months it's there. So we started on 8th of April.
I think once we gather a good amount of experience, people will understand what needs to be done in another for the next set of people joining, and it will shape up become a good process, I think. But I think this is the forum which I was looking initially. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Aarti, Shreya, how is it for you guys?
Nishant, this has been a very good experience today. We definitely got to brush up on some basic concepts and a lot of new information that we were not aware of. So it has been a learning experience, and I look forward to more such discussions.
Sure, and feel free to connect with some of the people in Germany. I think both of you are moving to Germany for a master's, right? Near to Frankfurt somewhere. So connect with these guys. They can probably guide you with accommodation and all of those kind of things.
Definitely. So actually, I wanted to point out, after my graduation in 2018, I was working with KPMG as an audit analyst for a year. So I was on the end of making these financials and for TCS, console and standalone and everything. Right now, when I'm seeing when I'm seeing you guys analyze it. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I'm seeing you guys analyze it and everything, it's a different experience altogether.
Ratio, operating ratio.
I can totally relate to you when I was doing my article sheet, even I was involved in preparing these statements, but hardly spent any time really analyzing it. And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it too.
Okay. Anyone else has any comments?
Guys, sorry for extending it, but just another thing that I just found out about the company that we were looking at. I looked at the LinkedIn profiles page. I looked at the people.